Hello, hello, happy Magic Monday. Hey, it's just me today. So excited to be here with you today. Not just me. Megan's got other things going, so I'm here to share with you on this Magic Monday. Be sure and say hello and let me know you're here and where you're tuning in from. Yeah, I'm straight on Facebook, so I should be able to see your comments without looking at my phone. Happy Harvest Full Moon. What an incredible full moon we had last night, and what amazing energy that's coming through. And so much is happening on our planet. So much is happening with humanity, with our souls, with our expansion and awakening. And I wanted to hop in here today and talk a little bit about that and the tools that you can use to support this expansion. You know, I've done the series on higher perspectives, how to look at what's going on in the world from a higher way, from a bird's eye view, 30,000 feet above the earth, right? And it's easier to do this when we can even look at ourselves this way. And one of the greatest tools that I've been using for myself and for my clients for almost 20 years is the Akashic record reading and the soul clearing. And what I did this years ago, I found it about 17 years ago. I don't know, whenever I first moved to Arizona, right? And I found this process from a lady. Hey, Tori, thanks for being here. From a lady who ended up living in my neighborhood at the time. And I went and got this reading. She didn't even call it an Akashic record reading. I didn't understand that's what it was. But what it did for me was it blew my mind, honestly, but it expanded my consciousness and allowed me to see myself from a higher perspective. So this, and once she did that, I immediately said, oh my God, I have to do this work as well. But what it gave me was a bird's eye view of my soul. The Akashic Records is the library of information that all of the information is held about the history of Earth, the history of our cosmos, the history of your soul. Since we sparked off from the oneness of God, once we created this idea of separation, well, it holds our soul's information. The Akashic Records probably goes back before that, right? But the Akashic Records holds the history of your soul. So what you learn in this reading is a history of your soul. What part of the star system did you come from? What planet? You know, we hear a lot about the Sirians and the Pleiadians, but there's so many more planets that have come to inhabit Earth and have the matrix Earth experience. And that's what I look at is how old are you in Earth years as a soul? The average souls on this planet are between 25 and 35,000 years old, maybe slightly older. And so if you get an Akashic record reading, if you're interested in an Akashic record reading, usually you are much older than that. You are well into the 70s, 80s, 90s, and over 100,000 years old. And in this reading, I also look at your soul specializations. So many people don't realize that when we're between lifetimes, we specialize in different energies and in different kind of work. And when we incarnate on the planet, we actually bring those frequencies in, and they play sometimes a subtle part and sometimes a more profound part in our physical experience. I wanted to say good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Angel. Good morning, Diana. So happy to have you here. Yay. So we bring those energies in and they define us in our lifetimes. We also work with particular archangels. What is the number one frequency archangel are you bringing in? I let you know that. There's so much. There's so much. This is a comprehensive Akashic record reading that you get. So you get a 7 to 11 page report, depending, right? It's comprehensive and gives a history of your soul and what you're bringing into this life. Soul specializations, archangel realms. I also look at your spirit guide team. Sometimes, most times, especially during this time on the planet when we're expanding and accelerating and ascending, we need an upgrade on our spirit guide team. A lot of people don't realize we can actually have negative spirit guides on our team working against us. Just the way that, say, if you run a business, you can accidentally hire someone that does not have your best interests in mind. It's just part of the experience, you know, just like in the earthly world, there can be people that have their own agendas. There's also spirit guides that have their own agendas. So I look at that and upgrade your spirit guide team. And then along with the soul clearing, so along with this Akashic record reading, not only do I give you a history of your soul, so you can identify as more than who you are in this lifetime. Like, yes, I am Michelle Lee in this incarnation at this moment, but I'm also a Hadaran that has come to activate the untainted expression of love on this planet. That is my soul's mission. But I've gotten caught up in this lifetime in exploring what love is not. Not that that's a mistake, but that is what I came here to do. But my mission is really to activate, and I carry the codes of pure unconditional love in my DNA and in my expression because I'm a Hadaran. And so that is something you learn, but that's like, wow, I'm so much more than who I thought I was. I'm so much more than the identity I've put together growing up as a human being on this planet, right? Also, what I look at, a lot of people don't realize, like, we have a golden web that goes all around us that holds all of our subtle bodies in, and that golden web holds our life plan, the blueprint of our life plan. Well, that golden web can become tore, and that can block us from particular choice points that we have created in our soul blueprint. And so I look for any tears and I repair those. And when we have tears, we hemorrhage the energy out of our chakras. So repairing that not only opens you up to more possibilities and opens you up to the possibilities that you actually created before you incarnated, it creates more movement in your life mission. And it also harnesses those chakra energies that you can then use more easily. Another portion of the Akashic record reading is looking at your chakras. We can hold negative programs, like we can bring in negative programs from past lifetimes, and they're stored in our chakras. So we can, let's say we can carry a program of martyrdom in our heart, which then creates the discordant energy of self-hatred. So our chakra is the chakra of love and expansion and divinity, right? But if we're carrying a program of martyr there, and then we can't fully access the unconditional love of our heart, it's going through a filter of martyrdom and self-sacrifice in order to get love, which then ultimately blocks us from love. So throughout our chakras, I look at all your chakras, I look for any programs that may be running in those chakras and release them. I remove them, release the discordant energy that is being created by those programs. And so this literally gives you a spiritual clean slate. You know, we talk a lot about like, what are your unconscious commitments, or what are those unconscious beliefs that you're running through your subconscious mind that obviously you're not aware of because they're below the level of consciousness. But those come from those programs at a spiritual level that are being stored in your chakras. That's why when I remove those programs and release the discordant energy, the stories that go along with those programs, then the source of those beliefs has been removed. And that way, so a lot of people do the work, the hypnosis, the tapping, the EFT, those kinds of things, which are really powerful, but it creates a slower process unless you clear at the soul level. And this is so profound and so important because now we're moving into the ascension, the heaven on earth, the new earth. And so we don't have to bring all of these forward anymore. Karma is being cleared. We are now at a space of freely, the frequencies, the energies are now available to us. The information is available to us to truly create and manifest. And these energy blocks, with Golden Web being tore, with programs running. There's also vows that we make in other lifetimes. There's agreements, there's patterns that we've created. We can also have attachments of dense energies. Like we can have earthbound spirits attached to us, or psychic entities attached to us that are feeding off of emotions we may never even know, but we may feel a little bit drained, or we may feel depressed, like we can't get through that. And I clear that too. So it's completely a release and a new beginning of a spiritual clean slate. Like I said, all these things that we've carried from lifetimes after lifetimes are now released. Another piece of it is a soul retrieval. Our soul is actually created of 617 fragments. And throughout our lifetimes and throughout trauma, we can lose some of those soul pieces, those fragments. So if you consider like the sayings, she fell to pieces, or she picked up the pieces for him, you know, that comes from losing soul fragments. So I actually look at that too. Are you missing soul fragments? And what basic human need is affected by missing those soul fragments? And then I call them back in for you. I retrieve those soul pieces, and then you are able to reintegrate them. So it's a soul retrieval. It's literally a spiritual clean slate. So it's super, super powerful. Or bringing some fears in deep layers of the chakras. Yeah, definitely. Fears come in, and, you know, a program of fear can be in there. A program of, like I said, martyrdom, a program of sacrifice. All of those things can be carried in the chakras. And it's really important to release those and clear those. And then it makes all of the other healing or work. I don't like to call it work. I don't like to call it healing either. It makes all the other aligning to the higher frequencies much easier. This is a process that I do with all of my private clients, because the work I do with them, the healing work, the awakening work, the aligning work, it just goes so much faster, so much more accelerated when we clear these energetic blocks in the first place. And it gives, like I said at the beginning, to know ourselves from a higher perspective, not just from this lifetime, but like, where we originated, right? Like I shared, I'd never even heard of Hadar before, but that's where I originated. And understanding that and knowing the characteristics of Hadarians and the purpose of Hadarians on the planet and why I may have felt the way I have felt in history just made so much sense. And I don't know if you've ever like been able to put the puzzle pieces together in your life. It's just like, oh, I get it now. I get it. So I'm sharing this with you today because Tori's going to share with you the link in the comments. And for the next week, those of you that sign up and do an Akashic record reading and soul clearing, I'm going to give you a property clearing for free. And so that's a $250 gift right there, because once I clear you, I definitely want your property cleared at the same time. So you're in alignment, you're in harmony with your environment, as well as in your own beingness. So if you sign up, if you register and get your soul profile and clearing Monday today through Sunday, then I will bonus in your property clearing, just because it's so important. And I would love to support you in this awakening, right? How it works is when you purchase your Akashic record reading, I'll reach out, get your details. There's certain things, your birthday, your birth name, your birthplace, so that I can tune into your Akashic records. I do the work before our session. And so I get all of the information, get it ready for you. And then during your session, you get a 1-hour session with me. Then I share all of the information with you, which usually takes about an hour, just getting it out and answering any questions. And then you also have a follow-up session with me for 30 minutes within 30 days of your reading. So that way, if you have any other questions or concerns or need additional support after your clearing, you get that too. So I wanted to share that with you. These are great tools during this time of ascension and awakening and discovering your mission. Maybe you're not sure what your mission and your purpose is. I do share with you the number one life lesson that you are working through in this lifetime. I do share that with you as well. So happy Magic Monday. I would love to do this work for you. Tori will put in the link, and so you can register, learn more about it, and get your property cleared at the same time. Happy Magic Monday. I will see you next week. Have an amazing week, and I hope to connect with you to read your Akashic records and give you a soul clearing. All right, everyone. Mwah. Bye for now.